all of this might be because Micron took $275 million in additional funding from the United States government, part of the CHIPS Act disbursements that were promised under Biden and have continued to go out under Trump. In its latest 10-K form, Micron said it had received up to $6.4 billion in CHIPS Act grants across two administrations. Micron even gets local and state tax breaks, reportedly worth up to...
What do you fucking want? Hi, what's up?
Sorry, okay, I can go away. No, I was actually kind of interested in the topic. I've just got home from work, so I've missed the beginning of the stream. But yeah, there's so many moving parts to this, and it was interesting what you were saying in terms of like consumer needs and like being like overpowered on their computers. Because at one time, you know, you needed the most powerful computer to run the latest version of Windows. It would last 2 years, and you had to buy a new computer again, right? And that's completely changed.
Yeah, a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it hasn't been that way for like a decade, though. I forget how old you are, but
I'm older than you, but
okay.
yeah.
It hasn't been that way for a while. I feel like since like Windows 7, I feel like we've been generally like the OS is at least around okay, like maybe Windows 10, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely got. I think around Windows 7, like even Vista days, like it was starting to balance off compared to the 90s. 90s was crazy.
Yeah, for sure. There were so many benchmarks. Like when the first like 1 gigahertz processors came out, it was a huge deal. The dual cores and the Q6600s, the quad cores were huge deals.
Yeah, the multi-threading, multi-cores was an insane jump. I mean, it was also to compensate for
amazing.
I mean, the processor speeds were already starting to slow and reach their height. Like we've been at 5 gigahertz now for a while. I mean, okay, you used to have to overclock a bit for it. But I think that's missing the point a little bit in terms of, and that's the processor power. But in terms of RAM, yeah, RAM prices have been fluctuating, and RAM is still quite important. So I think the RAM component of computers, because that's the thing that's exploding in price right now. I think consumers can buy a little bit less RAM in their computers, but they're probably going to have to upgrade quicker. And so effectively, it's not cheaper to buy a computer with less RAM necessarily in terms of what's out there at the moment.
I've got a question. If the consumer is going to buy it at these crazy prices, why would they ever go fucking down again?
Because the consumers, the average consumer
well, my guess is it's probably not. They're probably not actually maximizing for their profits at this point. Like they're maximizing for profits for the stock they have left, but my guess is they're having like actual output issues. Like they can't make enough.
Yeah, exactly. They're actually one of the mistakes that the market has kind of made, or at least hasn't factored in, is that in the past they would just increase the price, increase demand, increase price, but that now they're actually stopping the production of DDR5 to make HBM, RAM, which is the main type of RAM that's used on the servers on these GPUs that are used in training and running of LLMs. And this is quite a big change. So they're just shutting down DDR5 production. I was looking at this because I decided to move some of my investments about a week ago. I bought a lot of Samsung and Micron, this kind of companies, on the basis that there's not much elasticity in the RAM market. Like they can possibly increase production by 10% next year. That's kind of like the upper limit. So it's going to be a pretty big change, and it's going to get to a point where these big data center companies, they will look at their hardware they have, and it will be worth so much that it will be better for them just to set it off to the smaller companies and like the fintech type companies that also have smaller data centers. And when you start to see that move, it's a sign that the market's not doing all that well.
Well, I mean, what do you mean by the markets? Companies will just do what they're doing to make money, no? What do you mean?
Yeah, but sure, but it means there's a glut coming, right? So this is going to create, it's a bit like all these logistic type differential equations. This is going to create a massive glut in the end. And
what do you mean by what is glut? What do you mean by
like there's going to be too much of this hardware out there, or it's going to be too valuable. Initially, it'll be too valuable to actually use it, even for these data centers. And they're going to also, there's another issue of shadow inflation that will be coming around. So shadow inflation is when something becomes watered down. Like, like a chocolate bar goes from 100 grams down to 80 grams and no one pays attention to the weight of the bars. They think they're eating the same bar, but they're not. There's lots of other examples like this, but the providers at the moment of LLMs, they might keep the price the same for the same product, but start using weaker models where possible in order to save money, because then there's less training, or it takes a less GPU power to run. So this is all going to feed into these extra costs, and at some point it will actually not be very good for the rest of the market. It's going to create potentially inflationary pressure because data centers are everywhere. Like, they're really important for many companies. Lots of products we buy are through companies that are using these data centers. It's not to say this will happen or the rate at which this will happen and how quick the correction will be, but it's got some really interesting unintended consequences. It is, I think, crazier than we're even realizing right now. But of course, I might be wrong. I'm no economist, but
I feel like it'll just come down to how much further this AI shit gets pushed and what the utilization will look like for that. Because it seems like they're still, the vibe I'm feeling is that they're still hungry for everything, like hardware, power, everything else.
Yeah, sure. But as you said, it's the key word is utilization, right? So they're still not really profitable, especially the companies that are using these data centers heavily, and the end product. Like, Nvidia's laughing all the way to the bank. It's made all the money, right? It doesn't have to then produce a service afterwards, where the companies like OpenAI have to produce a service, and they're assuming that there's going to be enough demand for it. But that's depending on the rest of the economy, and if the rest of the economy is not in a good state, then they may not make the money off it, and then they see that they've got really expensive hardware that's, in terms of the RAM's tripled in price. Of course, that means that all the GPUs with all that RAM on there, that they're also massively increasing in value. I mean, the second-hand value, right? Because they can also sell this off to smaller data centers, which is the kind of flow that will occur if they start selling it off. Of course, consumers aren't interested in this hardware, and it can't be repurposed for that. In the meantime, like, phones and stuff are going to increase in price because it's affecting the whole RAM market. It's not the whole production line is being affected by this. So it's going to have bigger implications than I think perhaps a lot of people are thinking at this point in time.
I just want to correct you. You're completely wrong on the ROI for the investment by companies and data centers.
Wow.
None of them are losing money. Nvidia isn't selling these to these companies and just like laughing to the bank. That's completely not true. I think you've come along and like researched this really quickly and gotten completely wrong idea. I don't know where you got that from.
I haven't researched this really quickly. Yeah, no, please go for it. As I said, I'm not an economist. I'm someone who likes to invest their money. I like to look at patterns and trends.
I'd be really careful with that money you put in Micron and Samsung as
well. No, that's a short-term bet. By the beginning of next year, I hope to have that money out of there. But no, that's simply because their new contracts that they're going to be servicing, they're going to be able to...
The contracts for 2026 are flat. They're already done. They were done ages ago, back in around, I think it was July.
No, Hynix has finished their contracts. The other two haven't finished their contracts.
No, Micron has as well. No, the contracts are always done months before the end of the year. That's the same with 2024 and 2023. I've been following the AI since the beginning, and like all these things. I know about, for example, Samsung doesn't even have HBM4 like qualifications. They're still only doing HBM3, 3E, sorry. So they don't qualify for Blackwell Ultra or Rubin. The only ones that qualify for that are Hynix. The only things that Micron are going to be servicing are going to be Blackwell and Hopper, but Hopper's like not really that in production much anymore.
Yeah, okay. So they're not servicing the latest NVIDIA GPUs.
No, they're not. They're not doing. What they might be doing. I don't know. I don't think they're doing Ultra because they switched to. Did they switch? I think they switched to HBM4.
Yeah, but in terms of contracts, I'm not just talking about contracts for these GPUs, right? Because it's put pressure on the rest of the RAM market, so those prices also go up. So it's not just directly servicing those contracts. It's all contracts where RAM is considered, right?
No, it's the contract thing. So, like, for example, Kioxia made a contract with Apple a month ago before the RAM prices went up, and they got shafted because they're basically going to be using Apple with memory they need for phones. So actually, Apple prices probably won't go up too much or much at all because, and this is the same for most companies like this. Like Google, for example, will have probably some like ability to push down prices because of the actual like the workaround they have with memory companies. Apple will have this a lot because they've already signed a contract and they have a lot of sway with these memory companies. There are obviously places like I've been saying this for a while now, but like ODMs and OEMs. So ODMs would be like Dell, HP, HPQ are all going to get fucked in the ass because they all have basically no memory in inventory, and now they're going to have to buy at way high prices.
Yeah, and who are they going to buy it from?
They won't. They're going to buy it from the three memory companies.
Oh, you mean the intermediaries?
No, they're buying it from the like whenever they, like Dell or something, buys memory, they're just going to go straight to Samsung, Hynix, or Micron.
Yeah, and then they're going to be paying a higher price now, right?
Yeah, they're going to get shafted, but they won't be able to pass this on to the consumer that hard because they've been eating. Like,
it's unsustainable. The whole thing is unsustainable, right?
Yeah, but this won't matter because China's going to nuke the whole market in a year. Like, sure.
I'd
recommend reading into CXF17.
Let me be clear, right? I mean, predicting the market that long out is like predicting the weather this time next year. Yeah, again, in some instances not, but in terms of this, I entirely agree with you. Like, I'll be out like January. It depends on.
I'm not trying to make investment like advice as well. I just listen. Right, you can do whatever you want with your money. I'm not trying to say it. I'm just saying recommending it and information you maybe look at.
No, you sound knowledgeable, but in all fairness, I mean, coming in and saying, that you're wrong, but then I'm not just talking about the direct contracts for the GPUs. I know the Hynix is the only RAM that's using Blackwell. Fair enough, but that all the rest of the market, of course, is put under pressure from this as well, right?
What I came in and said you're wrong and was ROI from Nvidia selling to the companies. Like
I was okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. They're not. They've got their issues. They've got their risks. I'm not saying that Nvidia don't have their uncertainties. I mean, the whole market.
I don't know what Radiant thinks.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean,
bring in Rage Putin.
I'm not saying that any of this is entirely predictable, but I do think that there's been an underestimate of just how long and deep this effect will be, and also elsewhere in the market on data centers in general, and also for the consumer. I mean, of course, there's a delayed effect before they can increase prices, and of course, there's only so much elasticity before people just don't buy these products, right? But it's quite a big thing. I mean, I don't think Nexus is just making it for the sake of clicks. I mean, partly, of course. But
I mean, they're definitely being massively populist. This is a huge, like, the idea that, for example, this happened like 3 years ago. Like in 2021, everyone was clamoring about like memory prices and stuff. It's a commodity market. Like this is the same thing with oil, the same thing with like copper. This is what happens. Like people don't understand. DRAM is a commodity. This is not like
for sure.
Like, it's not a super high-end like system. It's obviously, you can't just come along and become Hynix. Like they have lots of innovations they do there. Like you don't just get like to make fucking 12-stack memory out of nowhere. But China is going to destroy these companies on margins.
Eventually, yeah, for sure. I mean, as I say, it's highly unstable. That's in terms of these differential equations describing this kind of thing. A rabbit's overeating, it creates a massive drop. It's a very destabilizing event, and of course then that's assume a very simple closed system, and then you have an open system where you can actually have a lettuce seller come in and say, hey, clearly there's a lot of demand for lettuce right now. That's what China will do, and no doubt, I'm not saying that this is, understand my time frames here. I'm saying in the next few months is going to be a surprisingly steady increase in DRAM price. And that's going to favor those who can still service contracts, not just for the GPUs. I'm talking more broadly in the market. But after that, yeah, for sure, there's some pretty crazy things that can happen. And in terms of elasticity for next year, I still don't see more than a 10% increase from what I could read on the matter. If you've got
10% increase in what?
I said that there's a 10% increase in RAM out, like DDR5 output that could.
I mean the RAM for consumers is going to go down. So like DRAM conversion to high bandwidth memory is about 1 to 3. So every 3.
Okay, what's the point of this conversation? What are we talking about here? Why don't you?
Just came in to say it was wrong on something. If you want me to go, I'll go.
Yeah, but I still don't say.
He was wrong with the ROI. Yeah.
The what?
I already said it, and then he talked to me.
Return on investment.
Wrong about what?
The ROI on like buying these GPUs.
On buying new CPUs?
GPUs.
What was he wrong about?
I've already said it, but I said he was wrong that these companies, like for example Microsoft, Google, buying these GPUs are not losing money on them, and he already admitted that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I admitted to.
They're not losing money on that. Wait, hold on, I'm trying to find out what he said. That they're not losing money on them. So he said they were losing money on them, but you're saying they're not losing money on them.
Yes, he was making a broad claim about essentially they were getting shafted by Nvidia selling to them. Essentially, that was.
No. Maybe I oversimplified. I didn't want to.
Was he saying they were getting shafted, or was he just saying that they're not profitable yet?
No. What I heard was essentially he was walking to Nvidia was walking to them all to the park, and they were shafting them all. That's like basically.
No.
I think that wait, hold on, wait. I think the thing that he said was basically that right now, when Nvidia sells a card, they've made money. Boom, they're done. It doesn't matter. Now the other companies are hoping that at some point they'll be able to turn a profit on the operations that they're using these cards for, but that hasn't happened yet. right?
No, that's wrong.
Okay, so
Wait, that's
OpenAI are
not what he
making
said,
money.
or that statement
Well,
is wrong.
I was saying you're wrong. That's a wrong statement. That's not what I heard as well.
Well, that is
Well,
what
I think that is what he meant. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, what's wrong about that statement?
That's not true.
So
I mean, you don't like it when I go off on huge tangents. So I'm just it's wrong. They are making money on this.
on what things?
On the GPUs that they buy, it doesn't take like 10 years to make money on them. They're making money on them pretty much as like instantly. The second they make the return on them, like the actual like if you're saying if they're making a net return on them, for Hopper GPUs, they bought like 3 years ago, they would have already made profits on them within a year or half, maybe more for like depending on the contracts they were getting, because they were higher back then.
Okay, but now you're kicking the can down the road. No, the biggest criticism. So I haven't looked at I don't know because there's all memes and I hate everybody that talks about any of this shit. But like
Same.
the meme thing right now is that it's a big circle of everybody doing these contracts.
Yeah, that's
but
not
like
true.
at the end of the day, there's not actually. Well, the fact that you just said, well, as an example, well, no, of course they're profitable because they're contracts, right? So maybe the big companies are profitable because they have already sold their services.
No,
or
the
promised
contracts
services
are
or
for
whatever.
compute. That's normal. That's always been happening in in data center world. Like if you're using data center
Well, hold on.
databases
No.
or anything.
No,
Yes,
stop.
it is.
Stop.
What are you on about?
With
What?
those data centers, my guess is at some point they have customers where the compute that they're paying for is like unquestionably a thing that those customers are utilizing because they're making money off of it.
Oh,
Whereas
if they're
right
making
now,
it themselves, yeah. Like for example, Google will make data centers for themselves, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the OpenAI will get a contract with like Amazon or Microsoft or Google, and that contract is the same as it was before. These have been the same since 2010 when cloud started coming off.
yeah, but the question is that the worry that people have is that there are a bunch of the contracts being sold for people buying compute for AI related shit, and eventually people are going to be like, oh wait, at the end of the day, this stuff isn't actually helping us or making us any money, and now all that stuff is going to go away.
Yes, and I have seen all of those things, and they are completely not true. Yes, all of these companies are demand constrained. They are not making new supply for no demand. It's not the same as like, for example, 01 when they were making fiber lanes for nothing. They were or the railways when they're making railways to nowhere. These things.
Well, wait.
Are all...
The question isn't demand constraint on. Hold on.
Yes, because then you're making money when it starts. You put the GPU in, you start running compute, and then you're making money on that contract immediately. Then it takes a year or two to make a net investment income on that.
Stop. What am I saying?
You're saying that the circular financing is essentially that these companies are investing themselves, so they basically keep the Ponzi scheme rolling. So like if I invest, you buy GPUs, I put them in, then I instantly say I'm going to make this much money, so then I get funding, and then I get money from them to then buy more GPUs that put them in, and then I'm not making money like an instant rate, so I'm essentially making a circular financing like Ponzi scheme. That's what you're saying, and that's what every bubble ever is that turns into a credit.
I think when they talk about circular financing, they don't mean within the company itself; they mean within the entire industry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's between two companies.
So nobody's doubting that there's money being made. The doubt is that is there at the end stage some product that's actually worth producing that is either going to materialize.
GPT is used by 900 million daily active users. Only 20% of them are payers. That's what people complain about all the time because they're like, oh no, they're not making enough money to like justify this. When every single company that's ever like
what am I saying? What am I saying?
Well, okay.
You keep
this
saying
is a
that,
huge topic. How am I meant to answer all of it?
When I'm at the broadest level, what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, does any of this shit actually do anything? And you keep saying,
yes!
People are paying for it. People are paying for it. People are paying for it. And they go, okay, well, then that's the question. What are they doing? And then your response is, well, people are paying for it. That's not the question.
Just named the product.
I know people are paying for it. They have got, I know, they're making a lot of money. Yes. What?
GPT is a product you use or everyone uses every day. 900 million daily active people use GPT. That is a product. There is Claude, yes, fucking Radiant uses it every day to do his job. He's on a contract for it.
Yes, for some people, it's a product that it's just a thing that you have at the end of the day that you're happy to talk to or whatever. But for other people, I imagine it's more a question of it's like an intermediate product. It's like you don't just buy ChatGPT to have ChatGPT. You buy it because ideally it's refining or doing something else in your business.
It's enhancing you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is are those enhancements happening? Is it real, or are people still trying to discover it? That's what the big.
No, there are enhancements. For example, there was a study came out today. Oh, should I? Okay.
Well, I haven't said anything for a while. I just want to actually
partly agree. There was a study that came out today from Google. Not from Google, but there was a study on advertisements. They made about 18% more money on AI-made advertisements, and it was from Google ads essentially. So yes, and Meta has came up with this as well. They made like, I think it's like 4 or 5% more ROI on all of their ads, like from like inference from spending on these GPUs. They are making real like investments on these things, and they are turning out. It's not always the same as, like, for example, the consumer facing stuff isn't where most of the money is being made in terms of ROI. Like because it's not. It's easier to do it it's easier to make an LLM make money in advertising than it is for consumer and actually monetize that product. Like
Radiant wouldn't have a job without AI.
True.
It's not a question of whether it's useful. It's a question of whether the price that people are paying for it is profitable for that use case at the moment.
Yes, it is.
So you're saying that the consumer prices that people are paying, OpenAI makes money on that?
Oh, well, yeah, they do. They specifically make it. I mean, the $20 a month, unless you're like using it a lot, and like, I guess you could say if you're making images, then you're going to be using a lot more tokens than you're actually paying for. But yes, if you're paying $20 a month for GPT, you're probably not using that, like, more tokens than you're being.
You're saying probably, so you don't know.
Well, it's an average.
Ooh.
I can't check with every.
Probably isn't an average. It probably means you don't know.
Yeah, you're hedging.
Well, yeah, it's not a public company. We only have to go off like what's leaked.
Well, then how you just contradicted yourself. What argument are you actually making in that regards then? I mean, and okay, we don't have.
I never made the argument that OAO was a good example of something. Like, I literally just said the consumer-facing stuff is not the best example. The best examples are places like Meta or I don't know, Anthropic, because Anthropic actually does make a massive positive ROI on its investments because it only sells to enterprise and they do contracts.
So you think at the moment they're making a healthy profit? We're at the goalpost here, rather than it being that they think they're going to be able to make a profit with this. Which I would argue, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a question of time frame, not the end point, right? And the other thing is you're referring to the bubble and about the circular financing. Yeah, that can be part of a bubble and it can exacerbate it, but that's not all there is to it. It's often when, a company is overvalued with the long-term perspective. So your P over E, right? The E doesn't really matter this year. It matters next year, right? People are thinking, okay, the value, like Nvidia's been doing, right? It's been meeting its expectations for a year's time. That's why it's had a high P over E, right? But it's when that expectation stops being able to be met, that is often a big cause of a bubble. And that's what happened in the year 2000. That's why Amazon's stock price, plummeted for almost 10 years.
Well, they also went to 100 PE. That's a lot different than 30, which is the average for basically every single tech company in existence, post like margins being insanely high for all these tech companies. But yeah, sure, you're kind of cutting out a lot of information there and simplifying it down to something that doesn't really show the picture, which is pretty normal for people that come along and talk about this bubble because they have no idea what they're talking about. Yes, I mean, I can agree with that.
I mean, you haven't actually put a counter argument to that, though.
Do you want me to say, if I do the counter, what you're doing right now is you're doing, I'm going to say something simplified, and then you have to prove me wrong. This happens all the time on the stream, and I fucking hate it. And then it's like, now I have to speak for 20 minutes, but I can't, because then you're going to be like, I'm going to pick one piece in that whole thing and say, you're wrong here.
And if you misspeak, then you lose the argument, too.
Yeah, true, yeah. Okay, do you want me to actually go for, Destiny, do you want me to go for this? Because you fucking hate it when I ramble.
Well, because you are incapable. It's a simple question that I was looking for a simple answer.
What he's asking isn't simple. What you're asking is very complicated as well, because you don't accept me saying that these companies they have products that aren't consumer facing that make money, like the ad
That's not the question. It doesn't matter if the non-consumer facing products make money. You can make money selling grass to a
No, I was saying they aren't.
It doesn't matter. No. You keep saying that, which means that you're not understanding what I'm asking. The question is ultimately, is something real being created that will have value in the future, or are people just investing early, right?
Well, I know, but I can't tell you that.
If some new technology can produce you $1 trillion of profit on day 30, people aren't investing in that on day 30 or day 29. People are early adopters of the technology, and their goal is to adopt it at such a point so that they can balance out the initial investment with what money they expect to make in the future. And the claim right now that people are making is that right now the investment is way too high. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't have a strong position on this. I don't know fuck all about any of this shit. But the claim that the memers are making is that right now the investment is way too high and the payoff won't be there in the future. And your response to this, you just keep saying, well, they're making money now. They're making money now. They're making money now. Yeah, and people made a lot of money selling plasma screen TVs. Doesn't mean we use them now.
I'm saying the people that are using the GPUs are making money, not the people selling the GPUs. Of course, Nvidia is making loads of money.
Yeah, but for the people using the GPUs making the money, are the people selling compute to other people who might stop
using
it?
Meta isn't selling compute. They are not a service provider. They only provide for themselves. They only provide for AdSense. Meta only
Who
prefers
asked?
inference for themselves. That's
No.
it. They do not sell
Okay.
compute to anyone. Okay, so that is a company. Google are making money on AdSense going up. Okay, because of
Okay.
AI.
The
They are
Google
not selling it.
example, I don't know about Facebook. The Google example was a good one. That was an example of here's how they're using
How is
AI. And
Meta is an even better one than Google? Google is trash.
Because you
compared to
didn't
Meta.
you didn't give an example for Meta. I don't know how Meta
I
is
did. I said
making.
the ads, the
Oh, okay.
inference. Okay,
Oh,
okay. So you know when you go on
Well,
Reels.
then both of those are good
Wait.
examples. Then.
Okay, wait. Okay, I have
I've
another
been
example.
saying that for like 10
I have an
Hold on,
minutes.
example.
Radiant's talking. Let Radiant speak.
Let Radiant talk, all right?
Oh, did you
Radiant's
ask
here.
GPT if you're?
The AI
I
expert is
can't
here.
wait, bro.
No, because I actually have work
Let me go ask
experience,
GPT
right?
to see what your response
So
is going to be.
one of the biggest money makers for these companies, or like generally how the pipeline works, is that Meta or Google or whatever will buy a bunch of GPUs from NVIDIA to train their super giant like trillion parameter models.
This is not true at all.
They don't? Okay, sorry.
No,
Yeah.
about
You disagree with
What did I say was
ChatGPT?
wrong? What did I say
Really?
was wrong? Tell me. What did I say was wrong?
5% of all GPUs, or about 5 to 10%, 10% is the higher bound of go to training. The vast majority,
Okay,
this makes sense
cool. I
logically,
wasn't
goes towards
done.
servicing.
I wasn't done. Obviously, yes, I understand. All right. So they'll buy these GPUs both to train and to run their models. But the main idea is that they're train it. And then when they have their model running in the cloud or whatever, they'll then sell what do you call it? Inference
What?
capacity or whatever, like API access for people to implement in their products, right? And you've already seen that everywhere. Like I always talk about this. I use Cursor for everything at work, right? I think
Yeah, we know,
everybody I know, every single programmer I know, and I'm not lying when I say this, uses Cursor in some capacity or ChatGPT, right? And I know everybody in chat too, right? Because I know you guys using it for your classwork and stuff. When I was teaching students, half of them were using ChatGPT 3 for all their code. Or not half, actually, all of them. But yeah, like it's literally everywhere. Like I guarantee pretty much every facet of business, somebody's probably using ChatGPT somewhere in the pipeline or like some AI enhanced product. But yeah.
Well done. You just said what I've already been saying for like 20 minutes.
Well, I'm just providing like background because I actually work in the industry. All right, you're just like some chatter that just complains every single time when somebody comes on stream.
Sorry, masterful vibe coder. I have learned from
Yes,
thee.
absolutely. W vibe coding.
Yeah, but I personally don't disagree that it can be incredibly valuable to the end user and profitable for them to be paying either 20 euros as a consumer or to use the API, right? But that isn't what I was disagreeing with, or at least say is ambiguous. Even if they're cutting even, or if they make a profit 1 month, it's got to be sustainable, right? And it's the idea that they're going to be very, very profitable, right, in a few years, in a year, but that time frame is uncertain, right? And in the meantime, the hardware they have is being used, and if that hardware doesn't turn a profit, but it's valuable now because the prices have gone so sky high, including the secondhand prices for the stuff that they have, then why would they use it to produce the end product when they could just set it off to smaller data centers?
Wait, what are you talking about? We talking about memory?
No, not just memory, right? The memory is also on these GPUs that they're using to train the LLMs and then run the LLMs, right? So all of these things have increased in value in terms of
but you can't like turn DRAM into HBM.
No, I know you can't.
It's only new production.
Yeah, for sure. But the old stock that they have, I'm talking not just about the RAM, the system RAM. I'm talking about their GPUs that they already have. So those GPUs are going to go up in price in terms of them being able to resell them secondhand. Now a lot of these smaller data centers buy up the old equipment, right, from the bigger ones, right? And so they're going to want to do that. So there's an option there.
No, that doesn't really happen. No. The hyperscalers don't buy equipment. They buy the megawatt and the capacity. That's all they care about. The only other time they ever do it is they'll give them
Wait, what equipment do they use if they never buy equipment?
Well, I didn't. To explain it more, when a hyperscaler comes along, they essentially are like, "Hey, you're an old crypto miner. You have a bunch of leased megawatts that I want because these data centers require gigawatts of energy, and I can't build it fast enough to basically service the compute that I need for my customers. I'm going to pay
Scott,
you."
let me reformat. I don't know why. Okay, you have a problem understanding questions. Okay, hold on. What he said is true at a certain price point. What your argument actually is that price point will never arrive. Correct?
Well, to be clear, I never said he was wrong. I didn't even know what was going on just now. I think it's a different.
What he's saying is that it might reach a point to where data centers or people who are ideally doing research and development on how to utilize ChatGPT or whatever fucking, AI bots, that these people, instead of doing research into those future technologies, the price of RAM might become so extreme that they say, hold on, fuck this. Like, all of this hardware is so worthwhile right now. We're just going to fucking sell it. Fuck all the future research. We're just going to sell to other people because they need this. That's what do you think?
No, that won't happen, because the only
Okay,
people
so
buying.
to be clear, what you just said was, okay, what you meant to say was that the prices on hardware will never be so high that it will exceed whatever future earnings that they could have by continuing on business as normal, because that scenario is not likely to play out.
Yeah, because of the companies, because of the customers buying these things, that is impossible.
No, it's not impossible. The price will just never be high enough. If a single stick of DDR5 RAM was $1 million, right, then people would start. Yes, okay, so that's the answer. Okay.
So there's an infinite price. It's still going to be more profitable.
Yes, there is no world realistically.
We squid it. Yes, okay.
I mean,
that's actually the point he was trying to make, though.
It is the point he was. It was exactly the point he was making.
Exactly, it is the point, and I disagree. I mean, the question is what price, and also, of course, if they start selling any of this stuff off, they have to be very careful, because then, of course, it affects the price. So it may be just overnight, and
sure,
then
but what MetaLoid is saying is that, like, the gains are real right now for basically every player in this market, and because the gains are real, you're not going to run into a world where, like, realistically, you'd have to, like, 10x or 100x the cost of a lot of this hardware for us to actually run into a problem world where people are just starting to sell off their hardware instead of doing work with it.
Yeah, essentially, also, there is no, the hyperscalers, like the big boys, the like big tech companies, are like 80% of this demand. They are buying for their customers. They're not buying for themselves, unless it's like Google, because they have their own product, right? Like they wouldn't just like start selling GPUs on a market to their competitors so they can have more market share. That's stupid, because they're all in a race to sustain the most market share, as they were already doing in the cloud business. This is just a new race.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about selling to competitors. I'm talking about there's plenty of other data centers that could buy at least some of that capacity.
No, because they wouldn't buy them. That's what I'm saying. It's pretty much just the hyperscalers. The amount of like actual money that goes to like enterprises is like nothing compared to the hyperscalers.
But you're saying that the hyperscalers would never sell it. They're just going to throw it out the window and just break up the old hardware.
Wait, throw what out the window? Like the old GPUs? The old GPUs are making loads of money. Like, if you're buying onto the idea that these GPUs have a depreciation, you're completely wrong. That like Burry article was retarded. The depreciation of these assets is not like 2 years. The H100s, as I said, the Hoppers originally from CoreWeave, they signed a contract 5% below when they originally bought them back 3 years ago and serviced them. They just did another contract recently, a month or two ago, and they are selling those things on compute at 5% below. They're not losing like 99% money because new GPUs. If that's
no, but I'm not talking. But they're meant to be used for like 5 years or so. Well, that's kind of their expected life.
Like 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. But afterwards, they're still usable, right? I mean, smaller and data centers.
No, it depends. It you'll burn out, like the way you're running these things. If you're running them at like high capacity, you will burn out these things. Like they will just blow up. Like this is also in training as well. In training, they have to swap out GPUs constantly, because these things will literally just get nuked.
So
because you're running them 100% capacity for like.
But before you just said there was no loss in value over time of these things.
Well, I'm talking on the whole. Like if you're buying 100,000, I don't know, like say you buy like 10,000 GB300 like pods, like you're not gonna. It's not. You're not gonna have like. I think for inference, it's usually like what, like 2 to 5% failure rate over a like.
I don't know. I can say I've never heard of like these GPUs burning out. Like my company's been using A100s.
Because you're not using them for training. You're using them for inferencing.
No, we've definitely used it for training. But
you're doing it for pre-training for 9 months. You training the biggest language models in existence for 9 months.
We've used it for like 5 years. I think at this point we've had.
Yes, you're probably doing very small training runs. You're not doing them for 9 months, and you're not doing them in a massive like cluster of 100,000, which it massively.
We've run them for a month or two at a time before.
That is,
like I'm
yes,
assuming
exactly.
some cumulative build up. So you're saying
you can go read Meta's papers and OpenAI's papers on these GPUs like burning out. You can literally go read them. There is like systems they have in place when they're in these data centers to switch out GPUs on the fly, because you can't have a certain pod down for too long, because it'll fuck up the system. Okay, I'm not just spouting shit. You can go read their studies. I know you haven't. You can probably go at GPT for fucking recommendation. All right.
Okay, well, I'm just saying I've never heard of that. That's all I'm saying. Like because generally
you don't know anything about this.
Sure. All right. Yeah. You know so much. Am I right? That's why you made so much money after the Trump tariffs?
Okay. Nice one.
Is Trump good for solar? Can you let us know?
let me know how many solar additions have been in this year. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know if
Oh
it's
yeah.
lower or higher. Is it higher? Is it higher? No. Is it higher than last year?
Oh yeah, it's higher, right? So that means
Oh,
he's
is it
good
gonna be
for
higher
solar,
next year?
right?
Is
He's
it
good for
higher next
solar.
year? Is it higher next year?
So, well, yeah, it'll probably be higher next year. But is it because
Oh,
of Trump or is it just because solar is good?
No, it's fine. You saw an article headline and you parrot it. Okay, you don't have any idea how this shit
I,
works.
w- I mean, you're the one you're literally just saying because solar is growing, that means
No,
whoever is in charge at the time
in
is
the
good for
argument we
solar.
had in chat, I said that Trump has done policies that are good for solar, and then you said no, he hasn't. He's going to stop the solar credits, which you don't actually say that because you didn't even know what they were. And
No,
you had no idea about any of the sort of policy he's done for energy infrastructure in the US related to data centers, which are like 80% of all of the increase in energy today in the US. Oh my god, if all the energy that they need today is going towards data centers, and he's making it easier on regulations to make data centers for energy, to be clear, they don't specify solar panels in there. If you're actually ready in this, you could have brought this up. You're a fucking retard, and you get shit from GPT and headlines, so you didn't come back to this. You just spammed. You're wrong. You're wrong. But yes, he is making it easier to do installations for energy and solar. Nat gas is actually also the biggest thing they're trying to focus on, but people aren't doing that because it's not profitable to make natural gas in the economy anymore because it's just not. Maintenance is a massive issue, and if you actually speak to anyone who works in the industry, you'll know this. But you don't because you're a fucking retard.
All right, so just to be clear, you think Trump is good for solar?
Yes, he did because of the policies that you don't know about because you don't follow any of this space.
I rest my case.
Nice, bro.
I can't even. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's self-evident. Am I right?
Yeah, it is. It's truly self-evident. That's why solar panel installations are going up this year, next year, and the next year. It's completely self-evident.
Solar's going, guys. Did you know if like solar is going up, it's so good that it's going up. It's all because of Trump.
I mean, it's self-evident, right? That our metric is Trump bad, so equals I'm right. Even if solar goes up, continue in his presidency, I'm also continue to be right because that's
Well,
my
I think
metric.
it's pretty easy to like, I don't know, connect the dots when Trump removes credits where like
that solar panel installations go down.
When he's generally stopping projects that, or what was the last one he stopped? Like green energy projects and green energy credits.
Installations are going down. They're going down, are they? Is this the end result of this?
Well, no, they're not going down because solar is actually a better technology.
Why are they going down if he's stopping all the? So it's better. So it doesn't matter anyways.
So again,
so there would be more installations.
So correlation. So correlation does not equal causation. I'm not sure if you knew that. Just because solar is going up does not mean it's because Trump is doing something good, right? It's more likely going up because solar is just such a better technology than other energy, right?
Okay, so
I mean, do you disagree? If solar was like, do you disagree with the idea that like solar, assuming that like we're able to work out everything, would be a better?
Just said this. I said it was better than nat gas. I said they aren't installing nat gas even with the policies that he's doing because it's not worth it relative to cost. Even if you're doing base power grid support, it's not worth it to do like nat gas installations anymore. Not as it used to be because solar are way easier on maintenance. The problem is, the way you approach this is Trump does something is bad. If he does another thing that also counteracts that thing, if he's not saying, "Oh, green energy is amazing," then overall net negative. Even though you have no idea how any of this works. If you actually knew how it works, you would know it isn't like that.
So when Trump goes out of his way to stop current like green energy projects that involve
the credits.
solar,
that's not projects. He's not.
And also, well, he's also stopped projects. But when he also stopped the credits, right?
National. That's all that matters.
And when he also comes out and says, "I think solar panels are really ugly. I think they're like we need to bring out."
He came out and said, "Drill, baby, drill."
Boy, this is a good meme combo, but I think are we good?
Wait, okay. Well, conclusion is, I think Trump is bad for solar, and Metallite Sword is very confident.
And I do.
No proof. Okay. Well, I mean, I'd love to see the proof.
Well, 2 days ago, Trump tried to.
I don't know who's memeing. Real quick, stop before you say something too. I don't know who's memeing or not, but Radiant, you have not made a real argument, right? You recognize that, right?
What? Wait, are you serious about Trump being bad for solar?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's see. Trump has literally removed the green energy tax credits, like from the big beautiful bill. Trump has he's shut. I don't have them on hand, but I know we've talked about this on stream of Trump literally.
You're making a mistake. So
what?
Nobody has said that Trump hasn't done bad things regarding solar. That's not the claim. The claim is whether or not overall has his administration been better or worse for solar. Now, I'm sure he's done bad things, right?
Then the
But that
Biden
doesn't mean-
admin?
What?
Then the Biden admin?
No one said that. But okay.
Like what?
No.
Okay, then what is
right
good?
now, the claim is overall, has the environment been better or worse for solar? You're pointing
Worse.
out that Trump has been doing bad things for solar, but what Metalloid is saying is that while that might be true, he's also doing other things that maybe in a roundabout way are beneficial to solar, or maybe just other things are going on in the economy. And you keep pointing out individual bad things that he's done, which I don't think Metalloid would disagree with,
No, I disagree.
but he's saying that overall the environment is better and that can be seen in total number of installations or something. I don't know what the truthfulness of this is, but I'm just saying that that's the argument he's making. You haven't really responded to it. You're just saying self-evident LOL.
Well, he's not typed it quickly enough into Jarvis yet.
Okay. All right.
What?
So I don't know how to like prove this out. Like you're
Well,
saying
literally
Because
with
you don't
any
know
piece of
anything.
If we
wait,
compare-
literally with any data point ever, like with any data at all.
So I am saying,
Yeah.
like what data? Like what? Like solar
I
going?
showed it to you. You even
Like
saw
you're
it.
saying,
You saw
you're
it.
saying that just because solar is progressing as a technology, that like people are going to
No,
be using
it's
it regardless.
installations. I
Like,
showed
like
you
it's going to be in
installations.
spite of Trump. Okay, yeah, so
exactly.
solar-
So,
there's
so
gonna be more
installations can
installations.
still go up, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Trump has been good for it in
No,
any
because
way.
because I made this already. The reasons why the energy is being added is because of data centers. What is Trump doing in relation to data centers? Making energy installation much easier. And what do you know? What happens when you do that? When you include batteries as well, he doesn't. And I said this specifically at the beginning. Just again, no one knows anything on this, including Ryan, so he didn't bring up. He did not specifically state solar panels in that bill. He didn't, but it actually helps them by nature because it includes making the grid around like a data center. So you still get the regulation ability to do that with those things. But no one is making remotely that much solar panels for the base power grid of the US because the base power is not going up dramatically. It's for data centers. That is where all the energy like progression in the United States is, and anywhere to be honest.
Okay, but
No,
is it
we
realistic
look
to
at
think
things-
that Biden wouldn't also have tried to boost the data center
I never
production?
said this.
Right.
I never said.
Okay, but that's the
Well, he's
difference
not saying
between.
you said that he's asking.
I mean, we can talk about this, but I don't think that's that's moving on to a different topic, right? That's me saying that is Trump worse or worse than Biden? Obviously, Biden is better for solar panels because he instated the credits. That was never my point, though.
Is Radiant not saying that Metal hasn't shown that solar wouldn't be even better without Trump? I don't know if that claim was ever made. It sounds like these guys had an argument in chat at some point, and Metalloid said, no, I think the environment is going to be even better for solar, and Radiant is saying no because Trump has done XYZ bad thing, but Metalloid said, no, I think that overall, regardless of some individual bad things he's done, the overall environment is going to be better. I don't know if he's made any statements about comparing
He's
Biden
literally
to
said
Trump.
he said Trump is good for solar. Like
Yes,
his
I
one
said
of the
net
things he's doing
benefit,
good
and
on
then I
is
backed it up
solar.
by saying installations higher, and his policy, which I never brought up because I didn't need to. Well, because you became onto a retard mode and just started spamming.
I mean, someone can pull up the logs too. Like he's hardcore, like making it sound like, oh, I was just saying that Trump isn't like necessarily that
We're
bad
not
for
going
solar.
through the logs. We're in a conversation.
Well, but it sounds
right
like you
now.
guys, it sounds like one of you is having like an argument on finance, and the other's having like a political argument. These like two
Oh
different.
yeah, he's
things.
just being populist. He's like,
I'm
oh, Trump's
saying,
bad.
as in, if you were to replace Donald Trump with Joe Biden,
That was never
or
what you said ever.
anybody, actually, just
Wait,
anybody in the world.
real quick. So if we look at the chat logs, was that a thing that was said where you guys were arguing about who'd be better, Joe Biden or
No.
Donald Trump?
It was. He said something like, "Oh, Trump is really bad for solar," and then
Yes.
I said something like, "No, you're wrong. Solar panel production is actually going up. He has done policies that make solar panel installations much easier." And then he said, "No, you're wrong. You're like so wrong. Like you're a retard." And then it was back and forth from me like posting proof of like what I was saying, and then him just saying I'm a retard over and over again. That's like our logs. I remember them so specifically because it's the day I started hating him.
Well,
I mean, it's literally no, because his argument is like his only argument is that there's more solar installations. Like
That's not my
yes,
only
because solar is
argument.
good.
wait,
It's not just because-
wait, stop. What is his argument?
Wait, who are you
Hello?
talking to?
What I'm
Hello?
asking you, Radiant. What is his argument?
His argument is that because solar installations are going up, or just like in general, just because people are installing or using more solar in the U.S., Trump is therefore good because it's happening under Trump's term. But like,
Hold on. Wait. When you say Trump is good, he said good for solar. Did he give an
Yes.
example of any policies or things that the Trump admin is doing that increased the amount of solar installations? Did he give an example of that?
I have to go look through the chat again, but
No,
generally,
in this conversation.
in this conversation, he said it's because he's lowering regulation,
There. Okay. So do you
Yeah.
disagree with that?
I'd have to see the regulation. I do kind of disagree with it because I don't think he's lowering that much regulation. It's more just like he's. I think there's been a way bigger impact by him lowering like the tax credits and subsidies that solar
If
used
there's been
used
a
to
way
benefit
bigger
from.
impact negatively than positively, then wouldn't we see that in like the cost of solar installations or something somewhere?
Yeah, but
No, because solar in general is progressing at such a fast pace that like it's like I don't know what you said. I don't know like a good analogy, but you know, it's like it's too good to like regardless of what Trump does.
No, you're actually right, Destiny. The cost would go up. It's not. No.
I mean, it's actually kind of difficult to. I mean, you have to see both sides of the argument. But I mean, okay, so let's say Trump is boosting data centers and more than any other president would have done, because you have to compare it to what would have happened in the first place. That's why it's difficult to actually break this down.
Well, no. Wait. To be clear, you don't have to do that. If the claim was just is somebody good or bad for energy or whatever,
Okay.
fundamentally, that's a different question than like would this person be better than somebody else, right?
Okay, for sure. Then you need to still look at the other side of the argument. So, right, DOI halts development of largest solar project. This was in October. There's multiple massive solar projects that Trump has shut down. In the meantime, building new coal stations is accelerating under Trump. So it's not clear that just because of the demand of the market demanding.
Are you seriously? You just pulled up like any single example. And you could probably find 10, and you're saying that's your counterfactual? Are you seriously doing?
I'm saying there's both sides to the argument. I'm not saying this.
Of course, there's always two sides. If you're just
yeah, but you only mentioned one side. You didn't look.
No, I didn't. I literally talked about natural gas. What are you on about?
You don't.
Bro. He's talking about natural gas.
You didn't bring up the fact that Trump has halted.
Like
you even you even said that.
Result and you put it in chat. That's literally what you're doing right now.
No, I was looking at saying which projects that Trump has halted, and yeah, there's multiple of them, so it's not hard to find it.
Of course, he's cancelled projects.
I don't even disagree necessarily with your overall argument. I'm saying you need to look at both sides.
It doesn't matter. I don't care if you agree with me. You're still making a stupid point right now.
it's basically.
Okay, listen. He might be making it. I don't know whether you think it's a dumb or a good point, but okay. But now at least look. Now you guys are arguing the subject matter. Okay, so that's good. There we go.
I have a link. I have a link.
You have a link? Link it.
Is it a link or a hallucination?
Hold on, wait. Well, actually, wait. I will say that he's making. Okay, I'm gonna be a little firm because you just laughed at that earlier, Metaloid. You said that Trump is not canceling any projects, and the one.
I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that.
I also heard you say that.
You did say that.
I never said. You go back to the vote. I said he has cancelled projects, but I said they are not like relevant on the national scale. Like, otherwise, the installations.
The largest solar project in the US was cancelled.
Well, that might not mean anything. Maybe there's a million projects and the largest one isn't that big. I don't know. But okay, but hold on. So it sounded like you said that, but maybe I misheard you and everyone else did. Okay, but that's so the question is on net.
Nice.
Is he been better or worse for solar, or is it just the market? But there, okay. Now you guys are okay. Go ahead.
I posted a link in chat.
Oh, you guys are done?
If you want to see it.
Can they go argue about it in chat? We got other callers.
Yeah, okay.
Well, okay. Well, real quick, because I mean, it's just it's so obvious on its face. Like how in what sane world?
When you say obvious on its face, you've almost instantly conceded a finance argument. Like, you can't be like it's obvious on its face. Like, there's two. Like, everybody in here understands there's two sides to everything, right? Like, I could very easily I could conceptualize intuitively either side of that argument being true, where somebody could say Trump has obviously been horrible for green energy because he's canceled a whole bunch of stuff from the Biden era Inflation Reduction Act and all these green energy investments, and he hates green energy and he's subsidizing certain particular types of energy that makes solar energy less whatever. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense intuitively. Yeah, that sounds good. But there's another argument where you could just say, well, Trump is actually so invested in all this like crypto scam finance bullshit, and he's got people like Peter Thiel and JD Vance whispering into his ears, and he's made it so that data centers have access to cheaper, easier power with all these tax subsidies more than they ever had before. And maybe that actually is incentivizing more solar energy investment than ever before. I don't know. Either of those things could be true. I would have to look at the numbers. But I would never say that like, oh, well, it's obvious which one is true. Well, do you think that between those two scenarios, does one sound obviously true?
I'm saying it's so obvious that like if we had like no president at all, where literally nothing changed from 2024 onwards, like no new laws, no new regulations, nothing like that, solar would be doing better than what it is doing now.
You realize that your
ego
has to be insane to have never read anything into any.
I would literally bet.
I would
put $1,000 down on this. I would put $1,000 down on this.
I look forward
Anybody
to
want to take me up on that?
I'm not arguing.
Have a good one, you three.
Well, that was fun. Anyway, I'm going to get something to eat. I've only just got home. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the rather heated debate.